Welcome back to another episode of World Gone Mad, Season 2, Episode 70. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf. I give my commentary on national and world news, plus politics. And boy, do I have a lot to say about today's meeting in the White House with Donald Delusional and JD Dumbass attacking President Zelensky. If you haven't seen it, you may want to check out the video after listening to my podcast. I'm going to get to that later on, but I need to go over a couple of news stories that are important. So as much as I am chomping at the bit to vent, I promise I will cover it in a handful of minutes. So here we go. NOAA, NOAA fires about 800 employees with more possible Friday. The Trump administration has its government shrinking sights set on the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, where around 800 employees have been tapped for termination, according to two sources close to the agency. More layoffs are possible. One of the sources said potentially costing the Weather, Climate, and Environmental Agency more than 1,000 employees by the end of the week. Now, most divisions of the agency, which employs scientists and specialists in weather, oceans, biodiversity, climate, and other research and planetary monitoring fields, were affected. Probationary employees, those who have been in their jobs for a year or less, in most cases, were fired Thursday. A person inside the National Weather Service told CNN. Now, there are between 350 and 375 employees with that status at the Weather Service. Though it's not clear how many of those were impacted, this insider person has heard there were some exemptions given to critical positions, like life-threatening disaster forecasting roles, including hurricanes and severe thunderstorms. Now, the people who were charged with conducting the terminations seem to have acted in a way that would minimize paper trails, a source close to NOAA said, making it difficult for others at the agency to know who was affected and leaving the word of firings to spread word of mouth. Cowards. The terminated NOAA workers' letter said the agency finds you are not fit for continued employment because your ability, your knowledge, and or skills do not fit the agency's current needs. Can you imagine if all corporations, and I know some of them do this already, run like this versus what the Trump administration is doing now? Disrespectful to the employees, and quite frankly, not a surprise. Judge halts mass firings of federal workers at some agencies. A federal judge in San Francisco on Thursday found that the mass firings of probationary employees were likely unlawful, granting some temporary relief to a coalition of labor unions and organizations that has sued to stop the Trump administration's massive trimming of the federal workforce. The ruling puts one of the most comprehensive pauses so far on the attempts of President Donald Trump's administration to carry out mass firings across federal agencies. Now, the case specifically grappled with the involvement and oversight of the Office of Personnel Management, led by Acting Director Charles Ezell, in directing agencies to cut back their workforces, beginning with shorter-term or probationary employees. Now, at a hearing on Thursday afternoon, U.S. District Judge William Alsop ordered the Office of Personnel Management to inform certain federal agencies that it had no authority to order the firings of probationary employees, including the Department of Defense. The order may have the immediate impact of putting on hold mass firings of federal probationary workers. The judge said, you got to hear this quote. This is great. The judge stated, OPM does not have any authority whatsoever under any statute in the history of the universe. In the history of the universe, to hire or fire any employees but its own, the judge said. And this is the last bastion, the last defense to stop Donald with all these ridiculous executive orders, the court system. But again, it would still rise all the way up to the Supreme Court potentially, and we kind of know which way they would go with the conservatives ruling the majority. Inside Patel's first week, the internal upheaval at the FBI, some of it his own making. FBI Director Kash Patel walked into his new office on the 7th floor of the Bureau's headquarters last week and made an immediate order, a very direct and important order. He wanted new carpeting and window coverings, calling the office he has now dingy. Oh my lord, this is who's in charge of the FBI. Patel's plans to remake the FBI go well beyond redecorating. He wants to overhaul the Bureau in fundamental ways that could drastically realign its workforce and the scope of its mission. But, like nearly every renovation project, it hasn't gone all as planned. Even before Patel arrived at the J. Edgar Hoover building in downtown Washington as its newly confirmed director last Thursday, there was tension between Trump appointees and career officials at the Bureau. A plan to quickly fire more than 100 mid-level and senior employees blew up into a week-long standoff between Trump's acting deputy attorney, Emil Bove, and the FBI's acting leaders, Brian Driscoll and Robert Hussain, who Bove had installed according to people briefed on the matter. Bove's demands for a list of more than 5,000 employees, mostly those associated with January 6, 2021 cases, prompted a chain of events that has blown back on Patel, making his initial week on the job more difficult than it was already going to be. A handful of former agents who were early supporters of Patel have already stepped away from an advisory panel that was designed to build Patel's credibility inside the FBI. People briefed on the matter said. Presented with Bove's list of mid and upper level employees to oust, mostly over their association with January 6th and the Trump investigations, some advisory members quickly rebelled. We immediately said, "No way," a former agent said after receiving the list. They were shocked at our reaction. That rebellion in turn prompted President Donald Trump to appoint a loyalist podcaster, Dan Bongino, as deputy director, quashing Patel's previously stated intention to continue the tradition of picking a career agent as his deputy, people briefed on the plan said. Damn it! So close yet so far from me. But then again, I'm not a loyalist to Trump. The upheaval has raised concerns among current and former agents and officials that terrorist groups or major adversaries such as China, Russia, and Iran will exploit vulnerabilities while the FBI is distracted with internal discord. There we go. Let's keep our country strong, right? Make America great again, according to Donald. And meanwhile, distract everyone away from what's going on with China, Russia, and Iran, and other adversaries who could take advantage of our destruction of our workforce, especially with the FBI. Elon Musk says upgrade of FAA's air traffic control system is failing, and SpaceX needs to take over Verizon's contract. Come on, everyone who's listening, let's laugh at this one. Elon Musk said Thursday that Verizon's efforts to provide a critically needed upgrade to the FAA's air traffic control system is failing, and he said that it's important that Starlink, a unit of his SpaceX satellite and rocket company, take over. Damn, Elon. Seriously? The Verizon communication system to air traffic control is breaking down very rapidly, he said in a post on his social media platform X. The FAA assessment is single-digit months to catastrophic failure, putting air traveler safety at serious risk. Tend to exaggerate much, Elon? The situation is extremely dire, Musk added. Oh no, the sky is falling. Planes will fall out of the sky if we don't do what Elon, the supposed president, wants us to do. Help us all. Oh, help us, great wise leader. The real president, instead of Donald. Save us from disaster, Elon. It was not immediately clear what FAA risk assessment Musk was referring to in his post. Verizon has a massive $2.4 billion contract to provide a long-sought upgrade to the FAA's communication system, known as the FAA Enterprise Network Services, or FENS program. Asked about Musk's statement, the FAA issued a statement saying, regarding the FENS program, no decisions have been made. Earlier this week, the FAA confirmed it is testing 3 Starlink terminals. Musk said those terminals were sent to the FAA at no cost to the agency or taxpayers at this time. He added that the shipment of terminals was done on an emergency basis to restore air traffic control connectivity. Verizon said another company, not Verizon, is running the FAA systems currently in place. Our company is working on building the next generation system for the FAA, which will support the agency's mission for safe and secure air travel, said Verizon spokesman Rich Young. Now, we are at the beginning of a multi-year contract to replace antiquated legacy systems. Our teams have been working with the FAA's technology teams, and our solution stands ready to be deployed. We continue to partner with the FAA on achieving its modernization objectives. The company Verizon mentioned is running the current FAA equipment, and the FAA did not have an immediate reply to requests for reaction to the Verizon statement. There is no dispute that the FAA's various computer and communication systems are badly in need of an upgrade. Now, a December report by the Government Accountability Office was entitled Urgent FAA Actions Are Needed to Modernize Aging Systems. The Verizon contract for $2.4 billion was awarded by the FAA 2 years ago. Now, the agency said it is designed to usher in a new era in national air system and administrative telecommunications. The Washington Post, citing 2 unidentified sources, reported Thursday that the agency was on the verge of canceling the contract and giving it to SpaceX. Musk appeared to confirm the Post's report with his statement on X, which was retweeting an earlier post by someone else that said, the FAA is on the verge of canceling Verizon's bloated $2.4 billion contract and handing it to Starlink, a move that would bring faster, safer, and more reliable air traffic control services. Such a move, however, could face legal challenges, as canceling federal contracts is a complex process that can take a year or more, the paper reported. It would be a large financial award for SpaceX at a time when Musk is leading the Trump administration's efforts to make massive cuts in federal spending, including staffing and spending at the FAA. The contract could also raise new questions about conflicts of interest for Musk's role recommending cuts in agencies with which his businesses have contracts or which have regulatory oversight of his businesses. The FAA is among the agencies that oversees the operations of SpaceX. Air traffic safety has gotten a new focus from the public in recent weeks due to a series of crashes involving commercial jet, including the fatal crash of a military helicopter and a regional jet on final approach to Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, and a fatal crash that killed all 10 people aboard a small jet in Alaska. A Delta regional airline flight that flipped over and burst into flames upon landing in Toronto, and a near collision on the runway of Midway Airport between a Southwest Airlines jet that had to abort a landing when a private jet improperly crossed in front of it. Now, the causes of those incidents are under investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board, and there is no indication that problems with the Verizon systems played any role in any of these incidents. But soon after the fatal crash in Washington, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced that he had discussions with Musk and that he was going to help the FAA remake our airspace and do it quickly. The thick plottins. Okay, some important news stories that I wanted to make you aware of. Now let's discuss the big, giant problem. The 2-ton elephant in the room today. And in case you were living on a planet Mars or you honestly didn't see any news today, President Zelensky met with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and a small group of reporters in the White House for their important meeting about ending the war from Russia attacking Ukraine. And we know what Donald said about Zelensky, that he was a dictator. A day ago, a reporter asked him about that before the meeting with Zelensky today. How do you feel about calling him a dictator, and are you going to retract that when you meet him? And Donald Trump said, I don't believe I actually said that, even though it was on video and we all heard it. Okay, so the setup. Zelensky is sitting there, and to the right is Donald Trump. A couple of feet away is J.D. Vance and some reporters. And it started out with back and forth very slowly about the ending the war in Ukraine from Russia's aggression. And then it started flaring up. And Trump started losing it. And Trump went after Zelensky and totally belittled President Zelensky, even several times during the conversation when Zelensky was trying to interject and correct Donald Trump. Trump would touch Zelensky's arm, kind of like, I'm in charge. You know how Donald does this. I'm in control. Basically, shut up, I'm talking. And then Trump started losing it. And JD, dumbass, Trump's lapdog, started yapping at Zelensky, snapping at him, saying that he should apologize to Donald Trump and show graciousness towards Donald the dictator and be extremely humble and grateful for everything America has done for you. And Zelensky was gracious and handled it quite well and kept his cool. I would have just bitch slapped Donald and kicked JD in his nuts. He may have liked it, I don't know. But it was such a takedown. It was so planned. It was an ambush. And you have to see the video and watch the full 10 minutes. By the way, this was reported later on at the press conference from little Marco Rubio, who stated that Zelensky owes Donald an apology for being ungracious and disrespectful for the President of the United States. I don't think so. If anything, Donald and JD owe the American citizens, me, you, and others, an apology, and the President of Ukraine and all our allies around the world. And again, like I said, Zelensky tried to keep his cool. And then Donald lost it and said, you're not going to win without me. You have no power without me. You're kind of nothing. And apparently you don't want to end the war. You want a ceasefire, and you want to keep the war going, and your people are dying, and what are you going to do about it? You better make a deal, or the United States is pulling out and we're not helping. And Zelensky was saying, I don't want a ceasefire, but I want guarantees from the United States, protection against Putin when he'll break his word. And he breaks his word, and Trump lost it. He didn't break his word with me. He broke his word with Biden, who is an idiot, and he broke his word with Obama and Hillary, and he started going into Obama, Biden, and Hillary. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. What the hell are you talking about, Donald? And he was litigating again the last 8 years, and this man is so unfit for office. So a waste of DNA. It was a disgusting display and lack of professional courtesy and lack of leadership from Donald the delusional. Those two are an embarrassment to our country and is frankly pushing away allies, because at this point our allies don't trust these two at all for any future decisions. This was embarrassing, people, and when you watch it, you will understand what I'm talking about. And somehow, here's another fun little fact. Somehow, we know why, a reporter from Russia was in the small pool of reporters in the small meeting asking questions, how convenient for Putin, and to reinforce this takedown from Donald and JD against Zelensky. There was massive belittlement, disrespect from Donald, the insecure so-called king, towards his continued berating of President Zelensky. I am pissed. This was an ambush. And I said before, this was planned. This was a fake controversy to try to bully Zelensky and make Donald look powerful. And I'm angry. And if you aren't as an American, and after you watch the video, if you're not angry as a Democrat, shame on you. You should be outraged to what happened today. I was so pissed off, by the way, I didn't even see the full 10 minutes. So I'm letting you know that up front. I'm going to watch it later tonight or over the weekend. But I stopped it, I saw a little, and I was upset. I raced ahead, saw some more of it, and just lost it. Now, I was so disgusted, so ashamed, not for our country, but that this man, this waste of DNA, represents America. I picked up my phone. I called Mark Kelly of Arizona, Senator Kelly. I called Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona. I called Governor Katie Hobbs of Arizona. And my complaints I left on their voicemail box and a long rant, and I left my phone number. And I also called the Democratic group in my area and did the same thing. What did you do? And I don't mean that as an attack to the listeners. I'm asking, what did you do? Did you just say, oh, well, we're screwed, I don't know what's going to happen? Or did you do something? Did you voice your opinions to your representatives? Are you going to voice your opinions to your representatives? And if you haven't seen the video yet, will you voice your opinions to your representatives? If not, and if you don't do it by tonight, tomorrow, but do it. Here's what I want to see happen. I want every damn Democratic senator, congressman, and congresswoman en masse getting in front of the public in a press conference and chastise Donald Trump and J.D. Vance for the disgraceful display they showed today in the White House. Then I want the mainstream media to not let up on the Republicans, the senators, the congressmen and women, and go after them tooth and nail about how they're putting up with this garbage. Next, I want the European leaders, and Britain announced already that they would send troops in support to Ukraine. I want all the European leaders and Canada. I want Italy, France, Germany, right down the line, announce the same thing. We are sending hundreds of thousands of troops and weapons and money to Ukraine and supporting them because Donald's not going to help them. And this is their defense against further encroachment by Putin into their countries. Come on, allies, show your support for Ukraine within the next 24 hours and stand up to this man who is our leader, and he's creating havoc day by day for our country. I'm angry, and I'm not going to let go of this, and neither should you. Don't blow this off by Monday and go back to work and go, oh, well, that's Donald. Bullshit. Realize where we are right now. We are in trouble. And everyone has to take a stand now. A lot of you are doing the boycott today with the shopping. And, putting it in the cart and leaving it. You know about this. Those of you who don't, look it up. And you have more events planned during this month and next month. So if you're doing that, then do something about this. Show your disgust against Donald and his lapdog JD today and what they did to a true person, a true leader, the president of Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine. That doesn't make me un-American. I don't stand with Putin or Donald or any of these idiots, Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio. This is where I require your emails and your texts, your voice messages. If this doesn't move you to send me a comment about this, I give up. I don't know what the hell would make you respond to me. 833-399-9653 24/7, my voicemail box system, wolfpacklistener@gmail.com. You can text on the app if it has that feature. Leave me a comment on Blue Sky if you're there. And I just started a new Facebook group yesterday called Democracy in Trouble. Search for Democracy in Trouble, and you'll see a picture of the Statue of Liberty broken on the ground. It's on Facebook. Get together with people like yourself who are making a stand for our country. I would love to hear from you for once. I have a lot of listeners, and I get very small feedback. And I'm asking you politely, can you respond to this, what happened today with Donald and the lapdog against President Zelensky? It's a little bit longer episode, and I apologize, but there was a lot to be said about this. I will be back Monday with another episode of A World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. Sometimes I honestly feel like I'm sitting in a room talking to myself. Stay hopeful.